make your way over. This is an amazing presentation with Wafa Ayyad. Khat Wafa is becoming famous, world famous in the area for her Tatreez workshops. She gives an amazing history and discussion, and then you will all get your own Tatreez kits to be able to practice it yourself. Welcome, we are so excited to have you all tonight. Aya Mustafa is actually going to be our MC for the evening. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Aya to get us started.
Can we close that door? Because they're too noisy in there. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Welcome, everyone. Okay. All right, go ahead.
So good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of our PAC conference. My name is Aya Mustafa, and I'm honored to be here tonight as your MC. Tonight, we center on the power of cultural heritage and the endurance needed to sustain our activism. From Tatreez, the stitchwork of resistance, to preserving our collective memory through song, we are reminded that culture is not only something to celebrate, but something to protect and defend. These acts of cultural preservation are vital to our movement, resisting erasure and reclaiming our collective identity. We begin with Tatreez 101, Stitching Resistance, Weaving Liberation, led by Wafa, an expert in this art form that has long symbolized Palestinian resilience and resistance. Wafa will guide us through the historical significance of Tatreez and teach us how to weave our own threads of liberation. Thank you, Fa.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to introduce my assistant, Ala, my daughter. Yeah, yay. I can't do this without her. Okay, so today I'm going to introduce you to Tatreez 101, which is a form of embroidery, Palestinian embroidery. So please follow me on Yalla Tatreez on Instagram if you can. So Tatreez has been existing for about 3,000 years in Palestine, starting with the Canaanite period. And it is passed on from generation to generation, usually passed on from grandmother to daughter to granddaughter, and so on and so forth. As a matter of fact, it was passed on to me by my grandmother and my mother, and I passed it on to my daughters. And, you know, the system will continue. We will pass it on to my granddaughters as well. All right. So it is a form of embroidery, cross stitching, and it is usually a form of self-expression for the Palestinian women. We're talking prior to 1948, not after 1948. This is when the culture was at its, finest back then. All right, so like I said, it is a form of self-expression where the women actually depict, and they actually, you know how like you write a story, you paint a picture to tell your life story. They actually they do their life stories on their thobs. A thob is a dress. This is a thob that they used to wear. So they do actually self-express on their thobs. It is their art. It is their communication in the village. It is communication to the world. All right. So Palestine is a small country, and each region has its own weather, terrain, agriculture, a little bit like a difference in customs. So each village, each region adopted and adapted the Tatreez motifs to fit their own heritage. For example, this is the tree of life, which symbolizes hope for the Palestinian people. These come from different regions. This is from Gaza. These are from Ramallah, and these come from different regions. So you can see the evergreen tree, the cypress tree, is represented, and it's expressed, and it is embroidered differently from region to region according to what the women used to see. Women back then did not travel. They stayed in the village. And whatever they saw in their village, they actually embroidered on their thobs. So if they had olive trees, you would see the olive trees. If they had, let's say, roosters, they would put roosters. If they grew wheat, they would put wheat on their, on their thobs. So they didn't Back then in the 1800s, early 1900s, women didn't travel, so they stayed where they are, and they actually represented themselves with their thob. They told their story with their thob. Now, Tatreez has evolved after 1948, and I will explain that further. But this is what they do. So in the coastal region of Jaffa, they are known to grow oranges. Therefore, what do you see on their thob? The orange blossoms, okay? It's what they see, what they actually know. And Bethlehem, this is the Star of Bethlehem. It's all over. If you know Tatreez, you would find it in every motif, every design, every thob. And it is actually from the Canaanite period. It is a meeting between the moon and a goddess of fertility, and it is a symbol of generosity. Yes, so what do I do? Click yes. Is this touch screen? Okay, whoops. All right, so this is the Star of Bethlehem. All right, again, after 1948, when the mass exodus occurred and people were fleeing and they had to go to neighboring countries and stay in refugee camps because of the genocide that was occurring in 1948, women fled with their only what they wore on themselves, the thob that they had on. And once they got to these refugee camps, they didn't have any money, they didn't have anything, they didn't have any means. So they started doing embroidery, Tatreez, to sustain themselves and feed their children. And along with that, they documented the atrocities that they saw. So for example, what you see right here is the cypress trees that are upside down, you know, symbolizing the atrocities that they experienced. And through them, you can see the missiles going through them. That's what they saw during the 1948 war. However, if you notice that they had flowers all around, which symbolized resistance, long living, and, you know, whatever they stand for. So they're not giving up. Even though they documented this, they said, we will still be there. We will belong. We will come back. In a modern one, you would see the cypress trees here, and you would see the missiles going up. However, you see an array of color and flowers and designs, which also means resistance, long living, and, you know, longevity for the Palestinian people. And that's how they told their stories. This is how they depicted, and this is how they symbolized what they saw. And that they documented, they actually documented everything they saw after 1948. In the 80s, when the Intifada or the uprising occurred, I grew up in Palestine, in Jerusalem, in the 70s. I was a little girl. We were banned from even drawing the flag of Palestine. It was forbidden by the Israeli government to have the flag of Palestine. So I remember when I was a little girl, I used to draw it and then rip it up immediately, because if it was found out, it would mean that my father would be taken away in the middle of the night by the soldiers, and God knows what would happen. So in order to prevent that, we were not allowed. But during the 1980s, when the Intifada occurred, women started embroidering the flag and the word Palestine and Al-Awda, you know, coming back on their thob. And this is called the Intifada thob, the uprising thob. And this is how they represented themselves, you know, in the 1980s. So you see how it evolved. It went from a tradition, a custom that they used to have, to documenting what they experienced, to resisting the occupation. So it did evolve. And this is a piece in a museum hanging somewhere in the world. I don't know where. But if you notice, these are amulets. Palestinian women love amulets. They used to embroider amulets on their thob or on their dresses to ward off evil eye. As a matter of fact, old dresses had mistakes in them deliberately. They had done mistakes in them deliberately to ward off the evil eye, you know. And girls as young as 6-year-old would start preparing their trousseaux, you know, their wedding chest, that whatever they put in there, and they would put everything in there, and they would deliberately make mistakes with their embroidery to ward off the evil eye. But they loved amulets. You know, I used to think it was just a triangle until I read about it and made more research. And that's what they believe in, al-hijab, you know, al-hijab. And that's what they did for good luck. Okay, so we talked about the 1948. Actually, this has to be fixed because there were 500 villages that disappeared in 1948. Therefore, their motifs and their distinct designs and their distinct designs have actually disappeared along with these villages because nobody knows where they went, what happened to these people, these women. Nothing was documented except what they wore. So the ones that fled, we know what their motifs were like, but the ones that have died, we don't know whatever happened to their motifs. So 500 villages disappeared, wiped out. Therefore, their motifs and their distinct designs, it could be a cypress tree, but we don't know what it looks like. They also disappeared because of that. And then, for example, like I said, women documented everything about their life. They told their life story on their thob. In the southern part of Palestine, where you have the Bedouins, women wear pink or red embroidery on their black thobs, which symbolize that they are young, they are newlyweds. But if the embroidery turns to blue, that means they are widowed. They don't have to announce to people around them that they are widowed. They just simply, turn it into blue, and that's it. If a woman adds pink flowers here and there onto the blue, that means she's ready to remarry again. So isn't that beautiful? This is how they self-express, And al-Khalil in Hebrew, pink and red for youthful women, purple for a more seasoned woman, like a senior citizen. Like you don't have to command respect to say, I'm an older woman, give me the seat. You just come in with your purple embroidery and your thob and you get respect, And it's like an unspoken language that they had, back then. So, and it also depicts their social status. So women, actually by wearing their thob, you can tell if they're wealthy, if they're the village leader's kin, if they are married into somebody, a wealthy family. You can tell from their thob how important they are in the village, because it does depict their social status, their marital status, their economic status as well. Here is something that I actually emulated. This is hanging in the museum in Jerusalem. And this is a groom's handkerchief. So young girls would make a handkerchief, embroider a handkerchief on linen fabric to give to the groom. So when he takes it out, he has to take it out in front of the young men and boast and show everybody what his bride has done for him. I tried to do that, and this was probably done by a young girl, and you can see the intricate details. I tried to emulate it. I went crazy, because it wasn't symmetrical. It had a lot of mistakes, and I went crazy. But I was happy to do this, and this is my result right here. You can come up to the table, you can touch it, you can feel it. I tried to emulate it. And I told my husband, I said, this is yours. So take it out in front of the men, Also, along with that, they also did a tobacco pouch. So I also tried to emulate the different tobacco pouches because he would roll it like this, and he would put these around, and he would take it out, take the papers out and the tobacco, and do it in front of the young men. This is a newlywed, right? And he's boasting in front of his friends what his work has done. So I found a piece that I had, and I tried to emulate it, but what drove me crazy are these fringes. I couldn't even emulate them, so I improvised. And this is something that I did just to show you what's happening, And this is something beautiful about the culture, So young ladies, go make one. Okay. Like I said, how I said they actually express themselves on their thob? This is something I used to see when I was a little girl, and I'm like, why are these women wearing pigeons on their thob? The motifs. Until I made the research and I found out that it is mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship. So it does represent the relationship that you have with your mother-in-law, or if you're a mother-in-law, with your daughter-in-law. So I like to think that these are the wings, the heart, they're holding hands, they're in love with each other. And I'm going to make this for my mother-in-law because I love her. So I want to express. But this is something beautiful. You don't have to tell the world you love your mother-in-law. Just make something and wear it and go out, and people would see it and know that you have a nice relationship with her. And this is the most beautiful thing about my culture, you know, the self-expression, the silent expression. Okay. Like I said, back then, they had something called malak thob. You're all familiar with a malak thob. Malak thob is not cross-stitching, it is not embroidery. It is something called couching. So this was made by my grandmother for me when I was a little girl. And this is the first technique that she actually taught me, the couching, you know, the technique. And she never made me a thob because she passed when I was little. But I got to keep 2 remnants from my sister's thob, which she cut up to make something more modern. I wanted to kill her for that. But when I asked her, where's your thob? Show me Teta's thob. And she said, oh, I only have 2 pieces. You want them? And this is gold to me. This is actually my grandmother's work, the couching. And this also represents the wealth. Okay, so if a woman wore something like this, a bride especially, that means she's marrying into a wealthy family or she comes from a wealthy family. Okay, common people did not wear this back then, but now it's very common. Back then, it used to belong in the Bethlehem region, and then with intermarriage, you know, and girls moving to different villages, they took the techniques with them and they took it to different regions and they adopted it. So you would find it in every town, every village right now, if you look at their heritage and their culture. But this is like my gold.
Is that the habka in Arabic?
No. No, wala tara. It's couching. You put the cord and you go over it with the thread. You can come up and see how she did it later on. Thob al-malak is not done with a machine. It's done. That was my grandmother's specialty actually. She used to make these for people. That was her specialty. Now they do it with machines. But the original ones, this is actually her work. This belonged to my cousin. I got a picture of it. So, you know, so I'm like so pissed that I never got one from her, but I have the vest that my children cannot wear and cannot touch. Yeah, they're not allowed. All right. All right, so these are the brides of Palestine. All right, look how beautiful they are. Okay? I wish that our young girls would do away with the white gowns and adopt this and express where they come from, the region that they come from. So this is Yafa. Look how beautiful it is. Look at the headpieces. And this is Al-Khalil, purple. This is Ariha, Jericho. That's Al-Quds, that's where I'm from. Very familiar to me. This, of course, is Bethlehem because of the couching, Al-Malak. Okay. Look at the headpieces. This one is Yafa, Al-Jalil. I don't know where this is from. Almost got it last week, but I still have to do more research because I can't see it up close. And this is Ramallah, of course, because of the headpiece. That's Gaza. You see the chest panel very clearly. That's from Gaza. And this is Safad, if anybody's from Safad. Okay, and this is Beersheba. This is where they express themselves if they're widowed or they were ready to get married. And the last one is Beersheba and Al-Quds. That's Al-Quds as well. So if you notice that they have these belts on, Lulu, come here. Lulu's wearing her beautiful sash. Okay. Now it's a trend. They wear it every time. But originally, the young women, when they got married, they got into the family. Prior, we're talking about 1800s, early 1900s. They did a lot of physical work around the house. They mended the livestock. They took care of the garden. They went out to the field. They planted. They harvested. They took care of the kids. So usually, if she goes out to the field, and my grandmother used to tell me stories about women having babies in the field and coming home and going to the field again tomorrow, you know. So it was normal to them, you know. But she would have a baby in the belly, a one that's held in the sash, and one that's tugging along, and a toddler behind her, because they didn't have birth control, obviously, and they got married young. So, and she's doing all that physical labor. So they would bring a sash and they would wrap it around something very wide and thick, wrap it around their waist, around and around and around, to give them support for their spine, because they do so much physical labor. We're talking about from scratch. Like everything from scratch, down to, doing the dough and making the bread, feeding the lives, everything from scratch. So to support their backs, they wear sashes like this. It's a trend now. Nice, right? Now, if you notice again, some of these women have this, and this is a trend now where they put it, it's a panel going down the thobe. Have you seen it in the new fashion? Okay, so originally, when a newlywed, when a girl gets married, she would take her husband's best garment. Don't do that. And she would take a piece of it, and she would sew it on her thobe, on her shoulders, to show people how much she loves her husband, right? I told my husband, I said, "Where's your best suit?" He's like, "Why?" I said, "I want to rip a piece out of it." And because of the wear, they only wear one, they have one thobe that they made. So they wear it every day, and because of the wear and tear and the physical labor, they have holes in it. So in order to patch it, they would take their husband's old garments, which is this fabric, and they would patch their thobe with it. Now it is a trend where you have panels going up and down. But this is how it originated, these panels. They were mending the damage that occurred on their thobes. Okay, so when you see something trendy now, there is a history behind it. And that was the purpose behind this. Okay, I just wanted to bring to your attention. This is a very, what do you call? Very old chest panel from my sister's mother-in-law. She was a petite woman. That's why it was very small. She, of course, inherited her thobes, and she chopped them up to make something modern. And she gave me these panels. And this is very, very delicate. I can't even see the X's in here. And this was handmade. They make their own thobes, So look at this. My grandmother used to wear a thobe. So my maternal grandmother, who taught me the Tatreez, at 8 years old, she sat me down and she said, "Let's teach you Tatreez." And she taught me couching first, actually, the hardest thing, not the cross stitching. So she used to wear the thobe. Here would have a big pocket, and here it would have a big pocket, okay? At least in my region, in Jerusalem. So my mother would come down the street, and we'd see her, la'ib, yes. We would see her, we would run, and we would fight, and we would race to put our hands in her pocket. This thing, man, how deep it was, and what can she put in there? She put candy, chocolate, green almonds. She would put cherries. Her embroidery, her wallet, her big key, like a huge key for the house. And it's like, where does it go? But it's like a treasure box. That was our treasure box. We would dig deep in there. And yeah. So another thing, okay, can I have your attention, please? Another thing that these women did is that they did something called manajil. So when they did the panels, they cut up the panels, the pieces of their thobe, they actually put the pieces of fabric together with the manajil, okay? So this is a very, very intricate piece of work. It took me a long while to learn how to do this, but this is how they keep it from ripping because of the physical labor they did. And of course they made it trendy and they made it look nice. This belonged to that thobe, okay? And I made a belt out of it for my daughter, something modern. I chopped up one thobe before I did this, so I was guilty. But I also wanted to show you something else. You know how we express ourselves? This was done by my mother. And she did this to, it's a representation of who she was and who I was. Okay, I was a teenager when she did this to me. So when you buy a thobe next time, look at the designs. Look at the meaning of the designs. I have a book here, and it is on YouTube as well, that tells you what each design, this is like an encyclopedia, it tells you what each design means, the meaning of it, and it tells you what region it came from. So wherever you come from Palestine, if you are from Palestine, look for those designs and try to emulate those in your Tatreez. Or if you buy a piece that is something that represents you, represents who you are. Look at this. I made this a long time ago, and this was a paying homage for my mother. This was me paying homage for my mother. We had snails in our well. I used to see them all the time. In her garden, we had a lot of cypress trees, different kinds of trees. We had poultry. So around, you see all this. These are feathers. So I paid homage to what my mother had. I also paid homage for her garden with this one. Paid homage to my mother's garden as well. Okay, so you see we had a lot of grapevines in our garden. My mother grew so many different kinds of flowers when I was a little girl in Jerusalem. So many different kinds of flowers. So I wanted to pay homage to her garden that no longer exists, and to pay homage to her, and I made this. So whenever you do Tatreez, there is a meaning, there is a significance behind it. You just can't pick anything that looks pretty and something that, the colors look pretty to you. Find out what your grandmother used to do, where you come from, and do something or buy something that represents who you are, and your heritage. So you feel free to come up and see this displays. Last thing I wanted to show you was this. No, before that, let's go back. Okay, I wanted to show you the different kinds of Aida cloth that come along. Nowadays, we do it on Aida cloth. So this is very, very small squares. This is middle, and they're on the table, you can see them. And look how large this is, okay? So when you buy Aida cloth, this fabric, it comes by the count. This would be count 16. That would mean there are 16 X's, cross stitches, per inch. This would be 11. There are 11 X's per square inch. And this would be a size 6 X's per square inch. Now my eyes are going for this, And if you are going to do Tatreez on a piece of fabric, just regular, not Aida cloth, regular fabric, whatever type of fabric that is, you need something called waist canvas, okay? And it comes like this, waist canvas. You can buy it like that. So you bring a piece and you add it onto your piece of fabric, secure it, and it does have the holes, just like the Aida cloth. You do your piece of Tatreez on it. Then you pluck the white lines, pluck them with a tweezer this way and that way, and then get rid of it, and you are left with this. And that's how you do Tatreez on regular fabric, okay, with the waist canvas. And okay, so the needle that you would need, I found out the best needles, so you won't poke yourself, because you know how many times I poked myself, is a DMC size 22 with a blunt head, not a pointy head. Pointy head would kill you. Just ask me, trust me. You also need pearl cotton number 8 thread floss, okay, that you can buy from Amazon, any store, but it has to say number 8, pearl cotton number 8. All right. And this is the waist canvas that I told you about. To see how it's plucked, you can pluck it. So therapeutic to pluck it. By the way, it is. It's like, I hate this person. I hate that person, and you would do that. It really is therapeutic. So these are things that some of my students in the past have done, a tote bag. One of them wanted to do this one, Palestine, so we designed it for her. I used to do it on graph paper. Then I graduated to the apps, Floss Cross, which is so easy. Now I can do anything on this app, Floss Cross. But this is what we did for her. This is my grandbaby. She wanted a unicorn. So you see how I did this with the waste canvas, secured it, and then I did this, but it had to be a pointy needle, and that really killed me because of the denim. It's very hard to go through. But she graduated. She's now, how old is she now? 6. 6? Oh, okay. Yeah, she's 6. So we gave it to my other granddaughter, and she wants butterflies now. So we're in the making of butterflies. Another person wanted to do a dress, a velour dress, and we designed it for her, and this is what she did. These are bought from Michael's, and I just wanted to put this for display because I wanted to show you that the back has to be very clean, just like the front. My grandmother would roll in her grave if you make any frills or knots in the back. So, she's very adamant, and very adamant about teaching, whoever wants to learn to make a clean back. Okay, you don't want a messy back. So when you're doing Tatreez, you're basically this is the square right here. These are the holes, and you're doing a half stitch. When you cross the stitch, crisscross, you're doing a cross stitch, basically. Okay. So these are half stitches. These are cross stitches. And notice that the cross stitches next to each other, they share the same hole. Okay. But if you are not sharing the same hole, you would have space between them if your pattern calls for it. All right. So today we are going to introduce you to the cypress tree, the tree of hope, and hoping that everybody would have hope, inshallah, for Gaza and everybody. And we will give you the kits, but I wanted to bring your attention. How many people want to learn how to not make knots? 1, 2. Feel free to make a knot. I'll tell my grandmother not to roll in her grave, But if you are adamant about making a clean back, find some place on your canvas that doesn't have Tatreez that you're going to store anywhere. Go in and go out. So in the back, you would have a diagonal line like this. Once you do the cross stitching, that line disappears underneath, secured. Once you are done, let's say you reached up here and your thread is over, go to the back, in the back, and slip it under in the back from here to here, and clip your thread, and it's secured. Okay, and you would see samples with my work down here. But if you want to make a knot, feel free to make a knot, be my guest. So what do you guys think? Yeah. You're going to make your own pieces? Yeah. Okay. So I will give you, oh my goodness. Okay, so on my pamphlet, I put in the Gaza chest panel to pay homage to the people in Gaza, especially those women. As a matter of fact, there was a page that I used to follow. They had a huge, the biggest, most enormous workshop that I have ever known in Gaza, that used to produce pieces and sell all over the world, the most beautiful pieces. This workshop actually sustained families. So the women in Gaza used to, bring food, bring money to the house by making Tatreez. In the beginning of war, last year, the building was destroyed. The people have died. The page went silent. I don't know what happened to them, if they ever survived or not. So I wanted to put this here to pay homage to them. There's a little bit of information. Please follow me on Yalla Tatreez. There's some explanation, of the technique in the back. And here I also threw in the Star of Bethlehem and the cypress tree. So feel free to either do this, or that. Okay, and we will give you the, let's see, we will give you the kits right now, and I have volunteers. Ala is going to help, and Sarah is going to help as well. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
This, okay.